Hello, everyone, and welcome to twitch.tv/the Onyx Path. My name is Travis. My pronouns are he and they, and I will be leading the discussion today as we work on uh, building a piece of community content for release over on the Storypath Nexus called Assault on Nemesis Station. Right now, we're working in the Trinity Continuum Aeon setting. It's one of the many settings that are unlocked over at Storypath Nexus. I would highly recommend you head over there and check that out. But before I dig out the link to the Nexus, I do want to remind you that Titans Rising is on Kickstarter for about 55 more minutes. So if you've not yet done so and you're waiting to the last minute, in the immortal words of Stanley Spadowski from the cinematic classic UHF, go! This is it! This is the last minute! So yeah, get over there and back Titans Rising if you've not yet done so. So if you're unfamiliar with Storypath Nexus, it is the community content creation program that Onyx Path runs through Drive Through RPG. This allows you to create basically offerings for commercial release for your own profit. You can take your game notes and put them together and put them out there. NPCs that you've built, or SGCs, I should say. I'm sorry, that you've built, scenarios, technology, anything you've brewed for your home game, you can put up there within certain guidelines and make a tidy little profit on it. It's also a nice place if you're not interested in creating things, but you're looking for more content to use in your own game. It's an amazing resource. A lot of times you'll see discussions online about like, well, gee, wouldn't it be nice if there was X, Y, or Z out for, Trinity, for Scion, whatever, yada, yada, yada. The Nexus provides the community an opportunity to build those things. So if there's something that you want and you haven't seen official support for it, check out the Nexus. You may be able to find exactly what it is you are looking for. I also want to remind you we are at the tail end of September, so if you've not yet done so, please consider subscribing to our channel. It helps keep the lights on. It gives you access to VODs instantly, rather than having to wait a week for them to come out on YouTube. And it's like the price of a coffee. So definitely consider doing that if you've not yet done so. And let's see, what else do I want to let you know about before we dive in? Tomorrow is Onyx Path's game night with Start Playing. Start Playing is a platform that lets you connect players with paid game masters. Onyx Path has been running a monthly game night the last Friday of every month for some time now, and it's always a good time. I have two games scheduled for this weekend. Tomorrow I'm running my Scion one shot in the club, and my on Sunday or Saturday, I'm sorry, I'm running the They Came From Beneath the Sea Jumpstart Party Beach Creature feature, which I was the writer on. So if you're available and interested in checking out those games, do hit the Start Playing link. Otherwise, see what else is on offer. I know there's a Pugmire game running. There's a couple other games running. And I've actually even scheduled my game night game for next month. So the last Friday of October, I will be running a zombie-fueled fun time with Dystopia Rising Stormwatch. So hope to see you there. Excuse me. So I think now that we've got all of the bills paid and whatnot, we'll dive right in. When last we met, we had talked about getting things set up and organized for the reasons people are there. We have some bullet points to drive that at the moment, and we're sort of fleshing our bullet points out just to make sure that we have good reasons, good seeds for the story guide to pull from when they're making their game. So gone through, at this point, we've already broken down the psi order motivations. Last session, we also worked on mishap table. Sort of like these are various things that could be going wrong with space flight while the characters are out near the asteroid belt near Nemesis and cause them to have to land in a hurry. I tried to go through and make sure that we had some sort of mechanical heft to each of these. I find it good to give them, a problem. Have it start with a problem to solve that's not related to the actual core, the meat of the story, and then the story, of course, complicates it. It's the thing that gets in the way. One thing that I think is a little too easy to overlook when you're designing adventures is you know establishing the status quo. What is situation normal here? What's going to happen if the players don't intervene in terms of with the NPC or the SGCs and whatnot, but also story guide character SGC is the terminology that Storypath uses for non-player characters. So you can, but and you want to consider what they're going to be doing without player intervention, but also like what would the players be doing? What's their trajectory if they don't interact with the antagonist, right? They have a life. They have things going on that really have nothing to do with what's up. And then, boom, a complication comes into their life. Conflict is created, and that's where you have the story. So, a little way to bring that into this scenario is that we have the mishap table. You can kind of determine whatever the party wants to do as far as what they're doing out there in the first place. But one of these mishaps happen, and the mishaps all have a mechanical consequence to them, something that or I guess I should say a challenge, something that the players must overcome if they would like to get back into space. And so these are unrelated to the actual direct conflict of the story. These are like a subplot, but these would also be the thing that the player characters would have to solve. And this only applies if they're using the mishap option for getting involved. But I think it offers a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a cool little tool that people will hopefully get some mileage out of. So now, let me go ahead and dig into mission statements, because our next option we had, of course, option 1, they were being sent by like the psi orders or AN. Option 2 was a mishap. The third option that we have noted in our bullet points is that they're employees of ICE, the Interstellar Eco Mining Consortium, I believe is what that stands for. And the idea being that they're kind of involved. ICE is the mega corporation that runs the mining operation at Nemesis Station. So they're the ones who have the most immediate skin in the game, as it were. And so having the players assume roles of employees of that company makes sense and is an easy way to get them brought into the action. So let's see. I just want to make sure I've got the right stuff in order. In the interim, I certainly hope everybody's having a good day. COVID shots are updated now. There's a new round of vaccines out there. If you've not yet done so, please go get poked. It's good for you and good for your loved ones, and it makes the whole world a much easier place to live in if everybody is doing their part to make the world an easier place to live in. So, if you're not doing it for yourself, do it for somebody you care about. Certainly, there is someone in your life that would benefit by you being vaccinated. All right. So I got my books open, got Anne open. We're going to dive into mission statements. We're going to bring up the consortium here. They are in Chapter 2, Meta Corporations. Gives profiles of several different corporations that are operating in the world of Anne, among which is, of course, ICE, also one of my personal favorites, Wangmar Biotechnics. I was able to write that. Very cool. Lots of fun. But definitely, if you've not yet checked out mission statements, do so. It's a pretty darn awesome book, if I do say so myself. I'm quite proud of the work that I have in there, and I know a lot of the other writers did amazing stuff. Got a lot of options for expanding your campaign, and that's one thing too, I guess, to keep in mind with what access you gain from the Nexus. It's not just like, okay, I can rely on what's presented in the core book and then I have to build off that. You can build off of basically anything that is unlocked in the community guidelines. So when we talk about like building on Aeon, anything from Aeon that's published, that's officially released, is fair game. So if you see a supplement and you're like, oh, that's real cool, I would like to expand on that, you can. So if you're looking through mission statements, the book is just dripping with plot hooks. It is full of things for a story guide to integrate at their table. So if you're looking at that and you're like, oh, I think I could do I could write a whole adventure around this plot hook, do it, throw it up there, note it in the description, which we will be doing on this release as well when it goes up. Note in the description that it's leaning on material or requires material or uses material from mission statements. From I did one about the Phoebe Trust, which is a sort of alternate timeline that's presented in Trinity Continuum, where it brings scions into the modern day by way of like old psionics experiments that happened in the real world, but twisting them a little bit. It's very cool, sort of little slice alternate setting. But I did 2 books to support that on the Nexus because you can do so, and because I thought it was a cool idea. So if you want to check out mission statements, I'll throw the link to the book here in the chat. If you've not yet picked that up, do so. And of course, the Phoebe Trust, which I just mentioned, is also out there. And that one's was released part of the Tasty Bit program. It's $1.99. There's absolutely no reason not to have this new collection. So that link is in the chat now as well. All right. Now that we've talked around it for a few minutes, let's get into it. We've got mission statements open. We're going into the International Consortium of Eco Mining. International Consortium, not Interstellar. Forgive me. But one of the reasons why we're bringing this up, right, is because our plot hook here that we've got, just a bullet point, is assuming that they are ICE employees, right? So we can kind of look at what it says in the write-up about how ICE works. There's a society path that's available. So we'll want to make sure that we mention that as we're fleshing this out. Now, I've really only got, and when we were bullet pointing it, it really only says ICE employees. That's it. That's all. That's all the data that we have. So we have a bit of a blank slate here that we can sort of populate. So we're going to just go ahead and say option 3. And I know this is not the prettiest of layout arrangements I've got cooking right now. We will, of course, sort of tweak these as we get into, as we get everything populated, we can go through and start sorting out the layouts. So let me just make sure that you can see what I see and that we are in the right sort of vibe. Let's get a little work done. Yeah, there we go. All right. So we'll say this. What are we referring to these as? Those are let's see one arrival. All right. So I say this hook assumes the party are playing employees of the International Consortium of Eco Mining. Oh, hey, baby girl. Sorry, my cat's feeling a little bit lonely today. What's going on, Bug? You okay? You gonna help me write? I need to get her one of those little kitty keyboards so she can sit here and feel like she's working with me. All right. Okay, so we're assuming the party are playing employees of the International Consortium of Eco Mining, and that they were recently like assigned or transferred to Nemesis. Let's see. The party is a group of employees. And we'll say the party was recently assigned to Nemesis Station and are reporting for their first. How do I want to phrase that? Are reporting for. I guess are just a reporting for duty, right? It's fair. When don't have to make everything overcomplicated when you're writing. And the attack occurs. No, reporting for duty. They arrive. The aftermath of the aberrant attack and find station in disarray. Now, one thing to note about the setting in hand. Everybody say hi to Zug. Say hi to the internet, Zug. Hey, baby girl. You okay? Yeah, she doesn't like being held very much. All right. So one thing that's cool about the way AN is constructed is you can have scions can work at pretty much any like corporation, right? Corporations will pay the psi orders to have their own employees dunked in the Prometheus tanks, basically given psionic powers, or they might recruit people who've left the psi orders and become freelancers. So there's lots of reasons why a scion might be working for ICE. Also, there are other character types. You could have a talent involved. You could possibly even have a superior involved. That might be a little bit harder to sort of suss out narratively, but it's not impossible. And you could have just a downright baseline. Maybe even there's a chin consultant, I should say, who is coming along for the ride. So lots of character concepts can be worked into that really really simple mission statement. Like, hey, your employees, you're showing up to report for duty. The fit has hit the shan, as it were. So don't think we need to say too much about that, other than when creating characters for this scenario. The Yeah, so we've got like there's like a in the writing, the write up for ICE in mission statements, you have like special edges that they can do in a society path that's attached to employment there. So I'm just gonna say, see, I wish I could type properly. All right, when creating characters for this scenario, see mission statements. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put the page range, I think, in here. So yeah, mission statements also has like a whole section about like running campaigns based on members of each uh, meta corporate. It's really just super useful. Yeah, we're gonna go. I'm gonna note the page range here. So I'm gonna say 65 to 71. For the appropriate let's see, for guidelines, inspiration, and the appropriate society path. We don't say appropriate because they could also be like freelance science, right? So we'll just go ahead and say, why not? Go ahead and say the ICE employee society path. And associated edge, because they do have a special edge just for them. Basically, one of the conceits in the setting is that ICE has just a ridiculously well funded and highly skilled legal team. And so this edge basically means you're either part of it or you have like a huge um, amount of pull with it, and lets you do some nice bureaucratic business as a result. So that really covers the ICE employees bullet point, I think, right? Because there's not really, excuse me, there's not really like a whole lot we need to expand on with that. It's pretty straightforward. And anytime you can be straightforward in writing something like this, I recommend doing so. The less dancing around you have to do to get your point across, the better. Um, Wherever possible, omit communication noise between yourself and the reader, and put things out there in just a straightforward manner. So, Our third, I guess our fourth option is assuming the characters are space pirates. Space pirates are common. There is a um, group of space pirates detailed in mission statements called the Hounds of the Void. And I also did want to look up because I think there's something in Terra Firma, which is probably the book I'm the least familiar with, oddly enough, for Aeon. I want to check and see if there's anything there about space piracy. There might be a path or something along those lines. And that's a good thing to keep in mind too, right? Like, if you want to, you want to have whatever resources are at your disposal kind of open, be ready to sort of browse through them while you work on things like this. You want, first of all, to make sure that you're not contradicting anything that's in the published material, because if nothing else, that limits the utility for players, especially if you're not clearly communicating that. Like when I did, for example, when I put out the Phoebe Trust, it's clearly stated, or the Phoebe Trust, when I put out my expansions for the Phoebe Trust, it's clearly stated that they belong with that sort of shard and they don't belong as part of the main universe. If you're contradicting things that are in the official materials, you want to communicate that clearly, because the expectation that people are going to have when they're picking up these products is that it's going to function under the basic assumptions that are true. And so if you're functioning under those basic assumptions, then you want to make sure you're not contradicting anything with your material. So a lot of writing is reading. Right now, I'm just kind of looking at the Space Pirates section in Terra Firma to see if there's anything new or interesting on there. Talks a lot about piracy in the Earth Luna sort of space sphere, which is fine. We're set a little bit further out than that, so this is more in the asteroid belt. Is kind of where we're at. Yeah, so they talk about pirates operating in deep space, effectively past the lunar orbit, being a lot more cutthroat. Let's see. Yeah, more likely to vent all crew and passengers into space rather than allow survivors as witnesses. Um, yeah. So by necessity, you're thinking the crew is probably going to be a little bit harder. Now, if they belong to something like Hounds of the Void, which is um, more of like a amalgamation or a collective of pirates, um, you might be operating under slightly more strict rules of etiquette, right? Because you ultimately have a reputation to maintain and you have a hierarchy to answer to. So keeping that in mind as you're looking through, and again, part of it, what I'm doing right now is just sort of spitballing these ideas, bouncing them off myself as much as off of the audience. So really, you're looking at having two types of pirates, right? You've got those who are operating independently, and then you have those who are part of the Hounds of the Void. So because both of those are playable options, it's probably something that we want to at least touch on a little bit. So yeah, in addition to, you've got the Space Pirate role in Terra Firma. And it would seem that the Hounds of the Void do not have a society path provided in mission statements. So maybe, so there's another opportunity, right, where we can look at and say, okay, that's a thing that's not there. They're presented as antagonists, so on and so forth. So we can sort of plug that hole with our own content. So let's see how we phrase this. Ooh, that was wrong. I'm going to copy this over. We're going to paste that here, and we're going to switch this to option 4. Pirates. So now we come into question of, okay, let's say the characters are space pirates, right? What is going to compel them to come check out this scenario, right? Is it a distress signal, perhaps? Is it that they were laying in wait? Yeah, that sounds better. Because, right, like, most pirate ships probably are not going to be responding to a bunch of distress signals, would be my guess. I mean, some probably will. Obviously, those peopled by heroic PCs would. So let's give it a couple options. Let's say this hook assumes the players are the crew of a pirate vessel. They may come to Nemesis for several reasons. Including okay, this hook assumes players are the crew of a pirate vessel. They may come to Nemesis for one of several reasons. And then we're gonna bullet them out. I already got some handy dandy bullets. What do you think of that? So let's copy that, paste that, so we're in the right rhythm. And I'm going to go ahead and take our accessing secure storage sidebar. Ooh, and move that out of our way for the moment. There you go. That's better. Okay. So what do we want to have here, right? For any of the following. Okay. Okay, distress call, right? And let's Oh my goodness. Very excited cat. Sorry about that. Sorry, my apologies to anyone with headphones on. Settle it down, kitties. Passing through the region when they receive a distress call from Nemesis Station. Declaring they are under attack from aberrants. Out of basic decency, the crew responds. Pirates are passing through the region when they receive a distress call from Nemesis Station, declaring the station is under attack by aberrants. Out of basic decency, the crew responds. Good on ya, crew. Then let's say, how about a I'm a big fan of alliteration. I probably read too many Stan Lee comics as a kid. But how about we go with belated belaying? Right? What I'm thinking here for this scenario is the pirates are laying in wait for a shipment from Nemesis Station. When that shipment does not come out on time, they choose to do a flyby, see what's wrong, and from there they can spot signs of trouble nearby. I'm going to go ahead and step away for just a moment and evacuate these cats out of my office because today they don't seem to be wanting to behave themselves as much as they normally do, which is also not very much. But if you can just hold on, hang back, we will be back momentarily. I apologize for the interruption. All right, folks. Sorry about that. Just had to corral my pets. But we are back, and we are back at it. And just a quick reminder, if you're just now joining us, there's about 14 minutes left in the Titans Rising Kickstarter, so um, definitely head over there if you've not yet done so. Get that backed and lend your support. Time is running out. Okay, so getting back in where we were at. Our pirate scenarios, right? We were just talking about belayed belaying. Yes, belated belaying. My Stan Lee inspired alliteration. Um, this is going to assume that the pirates are waiting nearby to hijack a shipment coming out of Nemesis Station. Um, um, Pirates began lying in wait to hijack a shipment coming out of Nemesis Station. Um, and let's say when the shipment fails to arrive, the pirates do a flyby and notice signs of distress from do flyby. Yes, their sensors indicate signs of violent activity, possibly aberrant. Possibly by aberrant. Yeah. So, belaying, the pirates begin the story lying in wait. What would you say? The pirates lie in wait. Pirates lie in wait to hijack a shipment coming out of Nemesis Station. When the shipment fails to arrive, the pirates do a flyby over the station. Their sensors indicate signs of violent activity, possibly aberrant. They land to investigate. Um, Here's another option too. It does discuss in terra firma that some corporations actually use corporations and nations use pirates as privateers. So that I think is an option to explore. So let's say uh, call that privateer security, right? It's a bit of a play on words because it's like private security, but not. Um, the pirates are employed by ICE to reclaim any stolen shipments or and offer security as needed. The station calls the crew at the beginning of the aberrant attack. By the time the pirates arrive, the attack is ended. And we just leave it with that. The attack is ended. Um, Alternatively, the Nemesis station could be paying protection money to the pirates. Compelling the brigands to investigate to aid the station in the name of protecting their investment. No, how about in the name of the station could be paying protection money to the pirates, compelling the brigands to aid the station in times of need. The So yeah, there's our options for our for bringing our crew into the story. We have an option for and slash side orders. We have options for mishaps. We have options for pirates, and we have options. Yeah, it was and side orders, pirates, mishaps. All right, cool. So that's all covered. And then let's talk about we have the accident itself, right? This is the thing that kicks off um, the story. Inciting incident, the accident. Worker X accidentally melted a frost layer over a large crevasse. This caused significant losses in recoverable water and agitated the aberrant colony, inspiring them to strike. I like that idea. I just think we need to flesh it out. Um, do we want to structure this story like on specific time beats? Something that I've seen used to great effect with, like, for example, Trinity Continuum Assassins uses that to great effect. Um, but other, uh, other Trinity Continuum games don't rely so much on keeping like a strict eye on the passage of time. I don't necessarily know. I don't run well that way personally. I struggle a little bit with things like beats and harsh schedules and things like that. So maybe I think we avoid that. Um, yeah, I think there's probably some other options we can pursue in describing this accident. So we have our basic breakdown here. The worker accidentally melted a frost layer over a large crevasse and has caused losses in recoverable water. Um, yeah, gee, I don't even know if I need to explain that much more. We need a name for worker X. Um, when in doubt, you can always hit a name generator, I suppose. For now, we'll call them. First, I'm going to go over and I'm going to look at the NPCs or the SGCs that we have built. And I'm going to see if we have anything that's leaping out to me as should be what it should be. If it's a mine worker, we'll say how about Peter Mortimer? One of the mine workers. We throw in our little PXX because we know that we're going to want to come back and refer to that stat block. So Peter Mortimer, one of the mine workers, accidentally melted a frost layer over a large crevasse. We'll say just for um, just to keep things straight and get sort of establish some basic geography, we'll say the crevasse that was about 10 kilometers south of the station. This cost, I'll say this caused significant losses in recoverable water and agitated the aberrant colony within the crevasse, inspiring them to strike the station. All right. And that's really, I think, all the information that we need to know about that first bit, right? So now the question becomes, what do we want to do with managing this space here? We get into some of the little layout theory stuff, right? Like, I personally don't like to um, have a lot of tables and art. Like, I kind of run by a thing like I want to make sure I have art every few pages, but if there's a table there, I don't necessarily feel compelled to put art on that spread. Aside from obviously the first page, one of the sort of rules of layout for Trinity books. I mean, for pretty much everything Onyx Path, but definitely for Trinity books, is that you're looking at like a full page art and then the first page of the chapter. So I do like to stay with that rhythm in the name of being consistent with the source material. Um, but when we get into the body of the text, I don't so much like having like it look. I think it looks too cluttered if you have a lot of art near the tables. This sort of weirdness also bothers me a little bit, so I'm going to dance our mishap table over here. And we're just going to adjust this. So again, you can kind of see how we're like as we go, we're rebuilding, reshaping our layout situation. And this is why I like using InDesign for community content generation. I do not recommend this if you're doing content generation for something that's like, going to be longer than 20, 30 pages. That really can become unmanageable. But for something this short, I think it's good. I think it's a good way to proceed. All right. So now we've got that there because that sidebar is an important thing that we want to make sure that we've got covered. As secure storage comes up in a couple of the sort of mishap fueled plot hooks, we want to make sure we adjust our text wrap to accommodate for the new spacing. I don't like having a lot of paragraph orphans, so let's see what we can do there. One option we have here is so we can make that text wrap a little smaller, I think. I think we can probably get away with that, right? Yeah. Maybe not. There we go. Okay. So we've got that sort of laid out nicely. Now, we'll need to come up with a nice quote for this to encompass the whole adventure. And when in doubt, I like to always reach into aliens so we can at least put a placeholder here. And I'm just gonna. It helps to Google when you're looking for a specific source. Congratulations, by the way, to everybody who worked on Titans Rising on the successful funding of that Kickstarter. Good job, everybody. We have made it with 62,287 raised, 979 backers. That's kind of awesome. Okay, cool. All right, let's see. Getting back to the lecture at hand, we were looking for quotes. Yeah, so I'll often like Google a quote to make sure that I'm not misremembering it, especially if it's from a movie. So we'll say, yeah, IMDb is really good for movie quotes. And it's also good for keeping track of which movie things were set in because I thought it was Alien the whole time, and here we are. It's not. It's Aliens. And I clicked the wrong button. I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. the aliens. And we may go back and refine that quote, or we might just let it stand. I think it makes sense. I think that's the vibe, right? The vibe is we are going for some sort of space horror. So now that we've got the quote in place, we've adjusted our layout here to make sure that this looks nice and pretty. Coming back over to our second page, we've got the secure storage sidebar in, all of our options there, the inciting incident broken down, and there's nothing. Let's see. Yes. And to rename option 3 because I almost made a mistake there. And just when you're doing this adjustment, especially as you're sort of going, always find it's good when you adjust pages around, go back to the front and start following your way through, making sure everything's flowing right, so you don't have any mistakes. I would assume this is more important if you're trying to do the layout in Word because you have a lot less fine control over stuff, so it's a lot easier for things to fall out of whack. But whenever you're sort of readjusting things, a good to go back through and make sure that everything is where it needs to be is always advisable. So option 2, mishap, party is passing through the area near Nemesis Station. Something unrelated goes wrong. Establish the makeup of the party and the reason for traveling through the asteroid belt. Apply one of the following mishaps. How about, let's rephrase that. You may choose a mishap from the table on PXX. And while I know it's tempting to look at it and go, oh, well, we know the layout here, right? We know that table is going to be on page 7, but we really don't. Things can shift. So that's why when you're doing your own book, you're doing your community content, I highly recommend using PXX for all your page numbers and filling that in last. That's why Onyx Path does that when they're publishing. You know, the PXX pass is always the last thing that you do because things can always move. You can always wind up shifting things around, and you're less likely to find it if you have the page numbers already filled in. Can be a little bit harder to sift through that, figure out what's right, what's not. Then if you have to go through and resolve those PXXs. Okay, so we got all this in place. We got through the inciting incident. So I think we can go ahead and okay, so scene 1 is arrival. Scene 1 is going to be, let's rename that. That's going to be I'm not a fan. I don't love it. And it's creating a problem for me there. Okay, so about scene 1, we'll say backstory. No, motivation. Yeah. Origin. Origin. We may come back and change that too. One of the cool things about this, you're never really married to your terminology. You can always go back and adjust. because I think Arrival makes more sense for scene 2. And again, one of the things that makes this neat, handy, doing it this way is you can go in and we shift that, and then it automatically formats it over to the way we need it to be. Um, so we're not going to jump to a new. Maybe we will. Now that I'm looking at it, right? Because it's not that much real estate. So, why don't we take this, push that forward, and then we'll just straight up pull this one out. So now, effectively, what I've done is I've cleaned this up so that now this chapter will end right there. This scene will end right there. Um, both these pages are pretty well filled out. Ideally, yes, it is nice to have everything filled, all the pages filled with no white space. But white space, when used sparingly, isn't your enemy. It's fine. It's fine to have a little bit in there. Let's drop in at least 2 more pages into this section. And again, this gets into kind of why we want to avoid painting ourselves in the corners with page numbers and stuff, because you can wind up, adding in pages and places all the time. It's really easy to do. It's really easy to go back and go, oh, I wanted to shift here to here, so that means I have to add a page in the middle. It's just best to avoid those things until the end. Let's see. All right. We have our scene 2 set up. So now that we've got this, now that we've made this switch here, right? We've got. No, I see. I'm going back and second guessing myself. Let's undo that. Yeah, because I was jumping backward to a new chapter when really we don't need to be doing that. Sometimes too, part of the process is going through and recognizing places where you've made mistakes, being able to correct it easily. That might not have been quite so easy to do in Word, but though, I mean, it was really just a lot of Control Z, so I suppose it's not a big deal. All right, so scene 2, arrival. Characters arrive at Nemesis, places a wreck. Some areas have containment, atmospheric breach. Initially appears to be deserted. Players have to investigate to find out what's happening. ICE employees in contact with something on the asteroid and nearby asteroid. Okay. One of the things that we had discussed, Chandra Magic had suggested earlier, everything was going fine, so we pulled in that new asteroid for mining. I think we're going to nix that because I think we're going to go with. I think we've worked out that the actual aberrant colony has been sort of underneath this ice sheet on Nemesis in hiding this whole time. So it's not so much they're pulling a new asteroid in and finding something that they didn't expect, as it is that they're just now finding something new, something that wasn't previously there. So. Okay. Let's see. So we need to punch up what we've got right here. We need to go through and sort of refine and correct what it is that we've got so far. Um, I'm sorry for the silence. I'm just typing, and it's sometimes easier for me to just type than talk and type at the same time. All right. So, approaching the station, the party notices a lack of normal protocol. No security personnel or flight controller reaches out. Uh, Via radio. And have the lights on the station's landing pad. We'll just say landing pads are off. Once they land, and we'll say there's let's assume that there's some sort of a docking bay in the station, right? Somewhere where theoretically a ship could come in and then they would enter into a sealed environment. So let's assume that there's that there, and let's assume that it's not working, right? Um, I will say no one responds to requests to open them. Ominous. Ooh, spooky wooky. All right. Approaching the station, the party notices a lack of normal protocol. No security personnel or flight controller reaches out via radio, and half the lights on the landing pads are off. Furthermore, the station's docking bay doors are closed. No one responds to requests to open them. Um, how about we say requests to open them are met with unnerving silence. Forgive me. Excuse me. This living without caffeine thing is becoming a problem. All right. Well, the party must rely on environmental gear. Okay, how about the Party must rely on environmental suits to gain access to the station's controls if they intend to bring their vehicle to the docking bay. Into the docking bay. And then what we want to do is we want to describe the scene, point out how tore up everything is. We're not gonna. I don't think we're gonna employ a map necessarily, and instead going to sort of rely on just general art. Keep things theater of the mind. Part of the reason for that is because I don't have the financial resources to like whip up a custom map. Um, and while there are a lot of maps on Drive Through RPG and probably even some that can work for space stations, I think this sort of scenario probably will work fine with Theater of the Mind. And you know, the other cool thing about the Nexus is it is a all the community content programs are also collaborative content programs. So, for example, if I build this adventure out and I send it up onto the Nexus and somebody else looks at it and goes, "Oh, I like those seeds. I like that idea. I would like to expand on it. I'm going to make my own supplement that talks more about what's going on Nemesis Station before and after the incident, and I want to make maps for it." They can do that. They don't even actually need to credit me for that necessarily, though it is recommended that you do so. It's good etiquette. But yeah, they can take that because the content that you're creating, you're sort of putting into this accessible pool of content that anybody else who adheres to the program's rules can also access. But that's a roundabout way of saying I don't think we'll be including a map. Okay, so party must rely on environmental suits to gain access to the station's controls if they intend. How about to gain access to the station, and then just work their way through the station to the central security. I went to just central security. To access let's work the way through the station to central security. Uh, they intend to gain access to the ship to the station systems. This is vital if they need to bring their vehicle into the docking bay. All right. So we need to elaborate now on this sort of sub scene. One of the things, you know, we've talked about having kind of our 5 act structure, right? Uh, Another thing that we can employ here as we're breaking down the actual station itself and the geography and the occurrences there is we can take a sort of 5-room dungeon approach to that as well. So basically, we're going to set up 5 descriptive beats, and we're going to cover those as the breakdown of that scene. Once those are laid out, then we'll work in our kind of our procedural aspects, right, where the characters are investigating, identifying clues, and then refining or uh, exploring those clues so that they can figure out what exactly went wrong. However, having said that, we're at about an hour 30 into broadcast, so I think I'm probably going to wrap things up a little bit early this session. I have some deadlines I need to hit and some other things going on, so I think we're going to do a slightly shorter day today. Having said that, though, I think we've made some good progress. We got everything for our opening sequence sort of hammered out. And this is all, again, set up in such a way where we're giving the story guide quite a bit of latitude for how they want to approach it. You don't necessarily have to write that way. You can be a lot more strict on what it is that you would like to see. Uh, Story guides are going to, are always welcome to and always going to be sort of tweaking, adjusting things. But you can certainly put on more bumpers and more details if you think that's what your story needs to do. This is just one sort of stylistic choice, I guess, that we're making as we're working on this. But having said that, yeah, I think we have reached the end of our broadcast day. Once again, my name is Travis Legge. My pronouns are he and they. When I'm not running games, I am writing them. You can find my work over at Drive Through RPG on the Storypath Nexus, Storytellers Vault, DM's Guild. I'm all over the place. If you just search my name, I'll spring up. Once again, I want to remind everybody that this Friday is our Onyx Path game night. I will be running a couple of games over the course of game night myself, and I know there are a couple of other games on offer. So definitely head over there, sign up. Let's play some games. I'm running Scion and I'm running. Um, they came from beneath the sea, so lots of good times. We got room for players in both games. Come out there, check it out. If you can't make it to the game night, no worries. Start playing is always there. You can always set up your own game if you want to run something. Game night is just something that Onyx Path does to sort of, I guess, encourage and facilitate play in a specific area. Trying to get people to come in and check out our games. But you don't have to run it on game night. You can run it whenever you want. So if you are passionate about running one of our games, you want to run Trinity, you want to run Scion, you want to run one of our licensed games like Exalted or Chronicles of Darkness, you can head over to start playing, get yourself set up. We actually, over on our YouTube channel, we have a video walkthrough of me and Devin from Start Playing going through and building an adventure. So lots of cool stuff. Easy sort of reference if you need to refer back to it, and I'll dig that link up while my mind is on it. Yeah, other than that, I again want to thank everybody who has backed the Titans Rising Kickstarter. It did just end about 30 minutes ago. Was a successful fundraising effort, much to the joy, I'm certain, of the Scion team. So congratulations to everybody over there for your successful crowdfunding adventure. I want to remind you again that you can head over to the Storypath Nexus to sort of check out what is available. I'm going to show a link to the Storypath Nexus itself. I linked to the FAQ at the beginning of the game. Also, if you just go to Drive Through RPG and start looking for FAQs for the community content, FAQs, they're easy to find. They're all listed within the Draft RPG documentation and FAQs. Just looking now to see about our start playing video. Yep, there we go. Just gonna grab that link real quick and pop it in for you. So if you need a walkthrough on how to get a game set up to run for start playing, it's right there. Now the process of setting up a game for start playing, it takes a few days for them to approve it, so it's a little late to hop in to run a game for this game night through start playing. But having said that, if you check out our Discord, there's always LFG channels there. So if you want to run something, if you want to plan for next month, if you want to, we run the game night on the last Friday of every month. So you have a lot of options. I'm just saying, just check it out. On that bright shiny note, I'm going to hop off here. I would like to remind you once again to please make sure you're going to get your COVID shot. The new round of vaccines is out, so do it for yourself, do it for somebody you love. There is someone in your life who will benefit from you being vaccinated, even if you don't think it's you. And take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you. We'll be back here same time next week. I think I'll be returning prior to that on the channel. I should be back here Wednesday of next week for the new episode of Skyland's Sins of Shelzar. So we're season 4, episode 5. I think we're going into now. So hope to see you there. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye.